I know that the word lucky becomes convoluted. Do you think people are just lucky in success?
I think we make all of our own luck. I think we totally draw to us exactly what we're trying to get. And so those of us who want to be lucky are. And those of us who have chosen to be unlucky are unlucky as well.
Great day to you all, and welcome to the X Factors to Success podcast show. This is the G-Man here, also known as Ruggiero. Before we start the podcast today, folks, I have an opening, a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it goes like this. Enthusiasm is the mother of effort. Without it, nothing great was ever achieved. And truthfully, today's guest is a wonderful young lady. And she's going to bring lots of enthusiasm because she's making things happen. Her journey and her life really can resonate to many of you out there. And as you all know, the X Factors to Success have the 5 key pillars: faith, family and friends, fitness, finance, and fun. All those wrapped up into one because it's the key ingredients to achieving your ultimate success. So without further ado, I have a wonderful young lady here. Her name is Angie Dobransky. She has spent a lifetime growing businesses and people. As a result, she lives a life beyond her wildest childhood dreams. At the age of 7, she came home from school and told her parents she was going to go to college and be something one day, and something that she is. She worked her way up through college while managing a shoe store to support herself and pay tuition. Upon graduation, business degree fresh on hand, she entered an exciting, exhilarating, and exhausting world of retail and wholesale fashion. She spent a couple of decades choosing and creating products for sale in major retailers around the country. Angie learned a ton about business, corporate politics, effective management styles, and how to build high-performing teams. In 2007, she decided to make a change and launched her business coaching career. Since then, she had a pleasure of working with hundreds of businesses and professionals, building great companies and creating opportunity for all. She looks forward to doing the same for you. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Angie Dobransky. Angie, welcome to the X Factor Show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Super. Thank you. I know I had a long bio here, but you got a lot of things going down, girl. So nice to see you and on this podcast, and I thank you very much for taking your busy schedule. I know you're working a lot of projects, Angie.
That I am.
Super. So I know I did a whole. I didn't do justice. I'm sure there's a lot more there on the bio here. So tell us more about your business here now. I mean, you're not right now. You're in Florida, right? I think you are.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. So we're experimenting. My business has gone more and more virtual, just very naturally over time, because that's the way the world is going. And so we're actually experimenting right now to see if we can just live and work completely remotely and see if anybody notices and if there's any change in life. So we're down here at Florida, and I'm working about 5 hours a day with clients, via Zoom, and then spending a couple hours at the beach every day, which is, the life I want to live.
And you sure got an awesome tan there.
Exactly. And if this all works out, then, we're going to live between, one day between the Atlantic coast here in Florida and between the Pacific coast in Mexico, and travel back and forth and live an amazing life.
And living the dream. Can you get into a little bit more about your business as far as your coaching and all the good stuff there? Get a little bit more in detail, because I'm sure the listeners out there want to get a little background of you, and then we get into more detail.
Yeah, so I tend to work, mostly with, small to medium-sized companies and some larger corporations and people within. It's an interesting thing when you start on this journey of, building a business. In the beginning, you have no idea what you don't know, right? And so then you hire a coach to tell you the things that you need to know. And then as you grow your business, I found this interesting thing, because you can grow a business and then you have to grow the people in the business. Because, the business can outgrow the people otherwise. Correct. And then once you grow the people, you can grow to the next level of business, right? So in my coaching is very much about strategically planning the business and working on the people within the business to help them grow and prosper within the business as well. So very integrated approach.
Super. So I'm going to ask you this question here. So this success of yours right now, you and I believe your husband also as well. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll give you a shout out to Ron, right?
Yeah. I love that.
When you listen to this podcast. So how would you define success? I mean, corporations and small, medium, large corporations, they want to define the success. How would you define success?
I define success as when you're part of it is you're living the life that you want to live, right? And I mean truly the life you've chosen to live, right? Not the life anybody else told you were supposed to have, but the one you decided to have where you have all the choices. So that is, at its core, a definition of success. But I also think there's a part that says it's also when you are fully utilizing whatever your natural gifts are to the world, right? Because part of success is giving back, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're really maximizing your gift to the world while living the life that you choose, I mean, that's the absolute success, isn't it?
I totally agree. And again, but isn't it true that people out there have so many things going on and they're not clear on what they want? How do you clarify? How do you motivate them? I mean, obviously, your enthusiasm, you have the skill sets, you have the tools. How do you motivate them? And what motivates you? I mean, that's a two-part question there.
Well, part of it is that they don't recognize they have a choice, right? So when I work with people, I frequently ask them, what would make you happy? What is it that you want? And I ask them in different ways. I have a client right now that I've worked with for like 8 years, and we've taken her business from really nothing to, something amazing that she can sell. And she said, but I don't know what I would do with the rest of my life. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And she said, I don't know. Right. I never really thought about it. And so that's something we're working through, right, over time, like
Sure.
is helping her to identify what is it she really wants. Because we're not taught in school to just, choose what we want. We're not skilled in that. So you have to help people to, find their way.
It reminds me of the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And again, understanding the principles of finance, principles of the basic financial responsibilities. And again, when we know those things, they also are part of the skill set for us to move forward to achieve. Because we always said, what, we want money, right? We want to become abundantly wealthy. But what does wealth mean, right? And again, what motivates an individual to get where they are to where they want to go? So, so the motivation factor comes down to understanding their purpose. What is your purpose right now? What would you say your purpose will be now at this stage? Because at age 7, you decided that you want to make it big out there. You told your parents,
Right.
you make it happen.
Going out into the big world.
You're an entrepreneur. During your college years, you worked very hard, and then all of a sudden now you're in this business right now.
I learned this interesting thing. I didn't really grow up with much of anything. I mean, we had the basics. My parents owned a house, right? But it was a 2-bedroom house. And, my mother watered down the milk, so it lasted all week, And what I really learned is that I could have whatever I wanted. It didn't really matter where I came from or where I grew up or what my circumstance was. And I just really want to show, my purpose right now is to show people is to open their eyes to what they can have. And then show them the way to get it, and I'll do that for the rest of my life, truly.
I love it. I started with a quote by Emerson and about enthusiasm. You are enthusiastic. I could just feel it. I could just feel it from this side. Angie, it's so awesome. Angie, we all go through failures, and I hate to use the word failure because I know that failure gets us closer to what we want to achieve. What would you say your breakthrough goal was from your days of graduating years ago and working different corporations? Now you have your own corporation, your own business that you're doing right now, servicing your clients. What was the biggest failure that you learned from?
There were interesting things, right? So I started out of college. Once I decided I was going to go into retail, I really wanted to be a buyer in a department store. And I worked really hard to get there, for like 5 years, and worked really hard to get there. And as soon as I got the job and really understood what it was all about, I didn't particularly love it, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just spent all this effort, right? For like something that is just going to, give me heartburn, right?
Right. It's like climbing on the ladder and then reaching the top, you're at the wrong building, right? You're at the wrong.
Right. And you got to go, oh my gosh, what do I want to do now? And then, I started my business in July of 2007, which in that moment in time did not seem like a bad time to start a business, but in retrospect was a horribly difficult time to start a business.
Right.
And I was a single parent, with a mortgage and a teenager that I was raising. And I reached a point in my business when I did not have next month. I went from having a lot of money to not having next month's mortgage payment in the bank. And it was terrifying, and I was, ready to quit, but I just made it happen.
I can relate to that, Angie. Myself also, about 10, 12 years ago, I had a manufacturing chemical business, and unfortunately, I had to pull away, and bankruptcy was part of my solution on that, and with two other partners. But you know what, though? We learned from those.
I'll tell you something I learned. It is easier to be poor if you've had money because you already have the stuff, right? So
like
because I've been poor without having money, right? So like when I worked my way through college, I went to, school full time and worked full time, lived in a, ghetto apartment, had like one knife and a fork, and used a blanket for a curtain. That was hard, because you didn't have the stuff. Now, once I, made my fortune and had my stuff, right? Once I ran out of money, I still had the stuff. So it was easier.
I love it. I love that you're able to share it. I myself also, at times before, I was a little bit reluctant to share my failures, but now it becomes a part of me that I need to communicate that to the world. Because again, success doesn't come just overnight or just, hey, just pull the switch up. But you see, those things gave you a perfect lesson how to build upon what you're doing right now.
Right. And the truth is, it is true. Once you learn how to make money, you can always make money no matter what happens.
Unfortunately, with those lottery winners who make the money and within 5 years, 85% of them all go bankrupt because why?
Well, they didn't really learn how to make the money.
Right. It's all in the mindset. Angie, would you share with us one or two role models that you learned from, and what were the learning factors on those?
My earliest role model, who I still really look up to, even though she's not so active anymore, is Martha Stewart, actually. Because if you read her story, she started out, she was like a model and a stockbroker and a caterer, just trying different things out. And then she built this, huge multimedia empire. And she always treated her employees well. She cared about, the people that worked for her. She built a good company. And in the end, she went to jail to save the jobs of the people that worked for her, and which is the ultimate sacrifice, right, for her company. Correct. So, and then held her head high and came back out into the public, a reinvented woman. So I've always thought that she was super cool, and she always just trudged forward with whatever choices she made in life.
Yes. I totally admired her as well. What is she doing lately? I know I haven't seen her in the limelight yet.
Last I heard, oddly enough, her and Snoop Dogg had some project going, and I'm not making that up. So I
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, I don't really know where that went, but I did hear that.
Okay. Wow. So Angie, you're now you're working remotely. What are certain habits and behaviors that get you up in the morning or get you up in the afternoon and to get the work done?
You have to be disciplined, right? Working remotely and working, as a digital nomad or even just working from home actually requires far more discipline than people realize. And it is about every day dedicating time. This is the time I'm going to work and this is what I'm going to accomplish. And I do that every day, so I'm going to work from 9 to 3 today. And these are the things I'm going to get done. And every single day, that's how I work. And then that gives me the life I want, right? Because if I work focused from 9 to 3, I can get more done in that time frame than most people get done in 2 days, and then I can go to the beach.
Isn't that amazing? Again, you're disciplined in the behavior of habits whatever day you put in place here. No distractions. I'm sure you have distractions, do you?
Yeah, well, today was quite the distraction, I will tell you that. So today was quite interesting because my condo or whatever this is did some exterior work, and some electrician had to run a wire inside.
Oh.
And he managed to break my air conditioning unit in the process, right? And I'm trying to work while this is all happening, right? And at some point, he actually said to me, well, it's not like I did something that caused this to happen. And I was like, dude, yes, you did, because it was working perfectly, and then you rewired it, and now it doesn't work, right?
Especially when you're in Florida and the temperatures are not as cool up here right now in the New York area during this time.
It peaked out at about 84 inside by the time we actually got the guys who installed the air conditioning system, who are fantastic, to come over here and fix it. So, but I actually kept to my work schedule through all of that. I was just like, whatever craziness you guys are doing, you're going to need to work it out because I got stuff I'm doing. So.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So Angie, you have, I'm sure you read many authors. You have role models like Martha Stewart, as you mentioned before. Are there any like top 3 books that you recently read or read in the past that would you recommend to the audience that has helped you pursue in your goals?
So, I read the Success Principles over and over again, Jack Canfield's book. I read that. I read that for myself. I read that with my mastermind group. I have it here with me at the beach. I do actually read it over and over again in little chapters.
Yeah.
So
I love it. Same here.
A really, really good book is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. If you have habits that you're either trying to break or create, it's a really good book. He goes into the process of exactly what creates habits and how you can interrupt the pattern. I found it incredibly useful, and I refer to it a lot with my clients.
Yeah, you matter of fact, I think I have that in my my Audible library. Power of Habits, I think I recommend. So that's two of them. Success Principles, of course, by Jack Canfield, co-author. Power of Habit.
Now, if you're crazy like me, this is a very difficult to read book, is Napoleon Hill's The Law of Success in 16 Lessons, which is actually his original work. Think and Grow Rich is the short version of that.
Is it this one here?
Yes. Yes, it's a difficult read. Have you read it? Yeah, I have the 2-volume version of it.
It's a big door stopper, but lots of valuable content in here, folks. You hear that? She again, good recommendation there. I appreciate that. It's been a while since I took in this book.
I think what you learn when you read something, an old work like that, because that's over 100 years old, around 100 years old at this point that was written, and you recognize that the message is the same. All of these great teachers of success, even if you go back and read like the 12 laws of karma, is essentially the same thing that Napoleon Hill is saying and Jack Canfield is saying. All these guys' message is the same, and so then it's correct, right? And so it's just up to you to implement it.
Well, and I like the fact that different individuals will communicate it in a different form and fashion, and whatever resonates to that individual, you can really tap into the learning of the principles, because these principles goes back many hundreds and decades, hundreds of years. And today we've got some great people out there who are really making a movement, and there's a big movement going on, I believe. The fact that we are looking to find more answers out there, and again, we find answers, and they're all around us. So appreciate the recommendation of the book there. So however, what's one book that really inspired you lately, besides the principles
lately?
Of
I I don't know. I read so many books. I tell you, I went on a strange journey. What is the name of that book? I read. This is funny. Bill Clinton wrote a book with Tom Clancy, like one of those mystery writers.
Yeah.
And it's about the president is kidnapped. That book set me on a really interesting journey because it gave me an insight into what the presidency must really be like. And then I read Michelle Obama's book, which was not a book that I bought for myself. My husband bought it for me because he thought I wanted it, but it wasn't actually on my list. And I didn't read it for like 6 months. And when I read it, I was just blown away. The core mission, the core message of her book is, am I good enough? Do I belong? Right. Wow. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is Michelle Obama asking this central question. Am I good enough? Do I belong? And you're just like, oh, it's mind blowing. Right. So that is an outstanding book to really recognize that we're all on the same journey.
It's beautiful. I love it. Well, I see that you're continuing on doing some stuff now. Is there a book inside you that you're working on? Maybe you could share with us, or if I'm tapping into
I do. I have. Yeah, it's all this pressure. I have this book I've been working on that I need to finish. I'm going to make that a 2020 resolution, I think, for myself. But it's basically going to be Radical Success Idea of the Week: 52 ways to grow your success. Right.
I like that.
And it's just the idea that you read, one idea each week that you can implement into your life and see where you are at the end of the year. So,
interesting enough. So, now, have you ever had clients of yours say, "Hey, Angie, you're so successful, you're so lucky," and I know that the word "lucky" becomes convoluted quite a time out there. Do you think people are just lucky in success?
I think we make all of our own luck. I think we totally draw to us exactly what we're trying to get. And so those of us who want to be lucky are. And those of us who have chosen to be unlucky are unlucky as well.
That's a direct answer right there. I love it.
You know what I get from clients sometimes is every once in a while, if I realize that I'm not having a perfect day, they'll go, wow, it's really odd to find you like not perfect. I get that. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, I'm a total mess up here in my head, just like you are, right? Like, it's always interesting to find out how others perceive you sometimes.
Well, sometimes when you think about it, you say, well, that person has everything intact, everything buttoned up, right? She has it all. He has it all, but we're human. We're all human. We're all learning also, continuous learning, and again, moving
Right.
forward, making a difference. Wow, this is great. So what would you say you're most proud of today or lately?
Um, Lately, I'm most proud of the work that I do, the lives that I've changed, the jobs that have been created because of the businesses that I've worked with, and the opportunities that I've seen people realize. I mean, it blows my mind sometimes. I truly look at my clients, and I am honored to realize I was a part of what's happening to them now. So that is one of my super proud achievements now.
I love it. If you were conducting this interview, what would you ask yourself?
I don't know. The question that I always ask myself is like, who are you really? Right. And whenever I try to answer that question, because I do, and I think I've answered it really well. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll have my friends read it and they'll go, that sounds really nice, but that's not who you really are. Right. Right. And so
Interesting.
I think that question, who are you really, is one of those questions that's difficult for us to answer, even when, like you and I, were on this journey and we're fairly self aware.
Right. And by the way, folks, Angie and I met at the one of the events of Jack Canfield's One Day to Greatness, and we were on the assisting team. We hooked up, and here a couple months later, we're on the show here. So what a wonderful human being you are, Angie, giving that back to the
Thank
world.
you.
For the energy. And I have to say also your husband Ron too. He's a great man. It was great to see and to meet the great, wonderful people. So those of you who have not ever gone to a Jack Canfield event, if you're in wherever you are in the States, you must attend one. So if you had written 100 books, you've spoken through many, many different stages, and you made successful businesses prosper and gain market share and so on, and it's 150 years from now, what would Angie leave behind? What legacy or imprint that you will leave behind?
My whole life is a quest for immortality, right? So I don't know if people actually, it's true. I really, I recognize only one life, this life that I live here on earth. And I think that it's possible to be immortal because I know that it is. There are men that have walked on this earth that are immortal. Jesus Christ was a man who walked on this earth that 2,000 some years later, we're still talking about him. So he's immortal, no matter how you define him. Right. Right. And so you are immortal by the legacy that you leave behind. And I could only hope that, say, 3 generations past, right, people are still telling my story about the change that I made for them. Because, if you get 3 generations, people are still talking about you, you've crossed into that line of immortality because you're part of history now.
I love it. Crossing into mortality. Beautiful. Beautiful, Angie. Well, Angie, I know we have a few more minutes to go in our show here, but I'd like to ask you this here. What's one breakthrough goal that you want to really make things happen? Another new shift point you want to share with us? And what tools are you going to use to that breakthrough goal?
So we've actually been working on this breakthrough goal for a number of years. We are going to build a corporate retreat center in Todos Santos, Baja, Mexico.
Woo-hoo!
We have already purchased the land, and I've learned 4,000 words of Spanish. And,
from the Berlitz.
From Duolingo. I highly recommend that little free app. And, if you can afford it, pay for it to support those who can't, because it's fantastic. But I just learned that 4,000 words is actually, considered conversational. And I was like, wow, I still thought I was not that good because, I have my own challenges with where I set my bar.
Another accomplishment there.
So, we set that as a goal and we focused on it. And every year we've sort of set a milestone that we would hit. Like last year, we were like, we're going to buy either a house or land. And we bought land last year. And this year, the milestone is to, get it going with a design build guy. And next year, the milestone is to be under progress. So, we are making it happen.
Congratulations. Oh, wow. That sounds exciting. Look forward, maybe in the future I could visit your retreat location, your business location.
Totally. Yeah. Our plan is to build like a 2-bedroom Mexican style house that we live in with like a big training center over top of a garage and like 4 or 5 casitas that guests come and stay in with a pool, and it'll be fantastic.
Sounds like fun. It's really wow. You got excitement there, girl. I love it. Well, Angie, I really appreciate your time and effort sharing your story and what you're doing in your business and how you've gone through from where you were, where you are, and where you're going. Also, there's a lot going on there, and you fit the many criteria in our X Factor success: faith, family, family and friends, fitness, finance, and fun. Now, what do you do? I know, again, you're bike riding. I know that we talked about you're doing biking, you're swimming out there, you're keeping yourself active in that level too. Besides,
yes, and I'm all about fun. My whole life is, I wrote my little epitaph for my tombstone when I was like 35, and it went like this: at least she had fun, right? No matter what else is happening, I'm going to turn it into a good time, right? Because it's all you can do. So
we forget,
and I'm out.
We forget about that, having fun. We totally forget part of that that key ingredients. Like even just doing the simple things, riding a bike and playing sports and visiting friends and rock climbing if you rock climb. But this year I did zip lining. I did first time zip lining up in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, and it was the blast. It was part of my bucket list, and I was suspended hundreds of feet above, going from one tree to another. You got to do it. Have you ever zip lined?
We went zip lining in South Africa on the world's tallest and fastest zip line. It's over a mile long, and it goes 60 miles per hour off the side of a mountain. Superman style, face down, right, in pairs.
Oh my God, you're
fantastic! It was amazing.
I thought I broke the ice there. Look at you, girl.
The minute we cleared the side of the mountain, I'm not kidding you, it was like everything went into slow motion. We were truly flying. It was unbelievable. Highly recommend it if you ever get to South Africa. Okay. Yeah, 60 miles an hour.
That's crazy. Well, well, Angie, I have to say this. So, Angie, what last words are before we say goodbye? Where can anyone find you? Do you have a social media there?
Yeah, so I'm all over social media. You can find me either Coach Angie Dobransky or Rad Strategic on all the channels. And our website is radstrategic.com, where you can see all the services that we have and book time and whatever you need.
And folks, I'll put all these on the show notes on the podcast. So look below there. And one of the things I'm going to always recommend, folks, is to rate, review, and share this podcast. You might, you might gravitate someone who's in your family or friends who might be motivated and inspired by Angie's story, and reach out to her. And then when you reach out to her, tell her you listen to the X Factors to Success. So, Angie, before we say farewell, what are the last comments or inspired encouragements we say?
I try to close most of my talks with this thought: you have the power to choose any future you want. And if you don't choose, someone else will use you for the future they've chosen for themselves. The choice is yours.
Wow, the choice is yours, girl. Folks, you heard that? Angie Dobransky. So, Angie, you are fantastic. I look forward to meet you again and your husband again one day, and soon, who knows where, maybe in Florida.
For sure.
Okay. Continue on your journey. You have definitely passion and purpose, and you're making a difference in people's lives, but also in your life too as well, the things that you've accomplished. Right. And that's pretty exciting about this Mexico retreat place that you were working on. It's multiple years, and I'm sure it's going to look awesome, fantastic. And those who attend are going to be really blown away with the type of work. So, Angie, I want to say thank you for being on the X Factors to Success podcast show. Truly amazing. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your stories. And
thanks for having me.
And when you're ready for that book launch, I want to have you again on the show.
All right, that's a deal.
Okay. See, we made an agreement, right? Keep our agreements.
That's right. Exactly. And I keep my word. When I tell people I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
I'm sure you do. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the X Factors to Success podcast show, working with the 5 key circle of F's: faith, family and friends, fitness, finance, and fun, with Angie Dobransky. And I hope you can tune in. Once again, please, that's right, just please rate, review, and share this podcast. And click on the links below under the podcast show notes. Email Angie and tell her, give her some insight, give her a thumbs up also as well. Support her. So I bring all these wonderful folks on the show. And again, this is a new show, fairly new, and we want to continue on building our audience here, folks. So once again, Angie, have a great one, and God bless you, and God bless you all your work that you do, and look forward to see you again.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Once again, you listen to the X Factors to Success. Live with purpose, passion, and make a difference.